welcome to this video. So I'm going to be recording a range of beginners tarot tutorials, and today I want to go over the topic, how to phrase effective questions for tarot. If we phrase the right questions, we can get answers which are illuminating, which are insightful, and give us the answers which we actually need, give us opportunities to improve things, tell us what we can do to change our situation. However, badly phrased questions for tarot can often leave us more confused and perhaps even disappointed. So we're going to be going over 5 key tips in today's video. The first one is about, asking open-ended questions. The second one is about focusing on yourself. The third one is about focusing on what you can change and control. The fourth one is about focusing on the present moment. And last but not least, we have how to clarify your questions, so how to get more information. And in that I'll include kind of how many cards you should pull and go over some tarot spreads. And then at the end of this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover, a little example. So I'm going to show you, good ways of asking questions and bad ways of asking questions, so you can see how different the answer can be and how much more we can get from those well-phrased questions. Okay, tip number 1, open-ended questions. So first of all, what is an open-ended question? An open-ended question is one where it's not a yes or no answer. So for example, you want to ask questions like, how can I? Asking questions where the answer is open, where we can get so much information, where we can really channel, what comes through from spirit and get to the root of our question. If we ask closed questions, then we can feel disappointed, because most times, the answer is not yes or no, because so many other factors are influencing a situation. So if you ask, will I get the job? And, so many things determine that. It might not be a yes or no question. Instead of asking, will I get the job? Maybe ask, how can I improve my career? Or for example, how can I, give the best interview? Focusing on those things which we can change. If you say, will I get the job? And you get a no from tarot, you're going into that situation with a negative mindset. And perhaps you could have got the job if you'd have looked into what you could have changed or done differently to improve your chances. So, will I get the job? No. But if you say, how could I improve my chances of getting the job? Then you'll have so much information coming through by using tarot cards to answer that question, which will actually give you a lot to focus on. It'll show you what you can do to change. And then maybe once you've made those changes and had that insight, you will get the job. So please bear in mind that when we ask questions, what we're doing is we are always kind of predicting future outcomes based off the current energy. So anytime, and we'll go into this more with point 4 when I talk about focusing on the present moment, but anytime we ask a question, what we're doing is we're taking the current energy and we're like forecasting it. So at that moment, perhaps you wouldn't get the job because maybe you're not well prepared enough. If you ask the cards, how can I best prepare for this interview, then you'll get so much information, and maybe then you'll be able to change the current energy so that the future trajectory means that you will get the job. So I hope that gives you a little bit more understanding about why it's important to ask open-ended questions, because to me I don't feel like answers are ever really yes or no. There's always so many other factors to take into consideration. By asking open-ended questions, we get to explore those factors. Perhaps there's a few other elements which can change the situation, and by exploring those elements through tarot, we can have all this illuminating, insightful information which actually gives us the power to change or control the situation. Okay, tip number 2, focus on yourself. Now, this is important because firstly, it's kind of like more ethical to focus on questions about yourself. I don't like when people ask about other people, because I think, that person should have privacy. It's not even a matter of whether we can do it as a tarot reader. It's about respecting another person's privacy. It's about respecting their situation. It's not really our job to look into other people's situations unless they ask us to. I do think we often get very confusing answers when we do that. because what we're doing is we're taking the power away from ourselves. We are placing the power in that other person. When you focus on yourself, you get given information which helps you change, which helps you see the answer that you need to see. And also, say you're focusing on an ex, or even a partner or a relative or a friend. By focusing on that person, you might get an answer to that question for sure, but what are you going to do with that information? Because you're not focusing on yourself, there actually is nothing you can do to change that situation. Whereas if you say, rather than, how does my friend feel about me? Instead of asking that question, why don't you ask, what can I do to improve the relationship with my friend? You know, rather than asking maybe, does my ex still like me? Ask, how can I, again, improve the relationship with my ex? And trust me, you'll get given more information and you won't feel confused and disappointed, because sometimes when we ask questions which aren't about ourselves, first of all, we're doing that from a place of ego. So we might not get a lot of clarity on that situation anyway, because we're already asking that question from a place of fear. Now, especially if you're reading for yourself, this makes it super hard, because as soon as you ask a question from a place of fear, your ego is going to step in and start interpreting those cards with you, and you might get the Three of Swords, and the Three of Swords often means healing, but perhaps, you know, in this context, you might see the Three of Swords, your ego steps in and says, it means you're going to get hurt. So already we're not able to focus objectively on it, because we are doing this, you know, focusing on another person's perspective. So that's why it's so important that you do ask questions with yourself as the main focus, because ultimately that is the only thing we can change or control. So I do think that is something to definitely be mindful of. You know, there are ways of exploring questions related to another person, but doing that with yourself at the focus, at the center of the question. So it's always, what can I do? How can I, you know, keeping that I, me, myself, keeping that at the, you know, the center of the question is going to, trust me, change the answers you receive massively. Tip number 3. Now this kind of links into tip number 2. So tip number 3 is about focusing on what you can control or change, which I've already gone into a little bit of detail in tip number 2. But just to go into some more depth with this tip, focusing on what you can change gives you the power. And ultimately we all have that power to change and control our situation. When we ask questions about things which we can't change or control, we become frustrated because you get answers, but ultimately there's nothing you can do to change that answer, or the way you've worded the question makes you feel that way. You know, so you do have the power to completely change your situation, so focus on that power, find out how to use it, you know, literally ask the cards, what can I do to change the situation? What can I do to improve the situation? You know, reminding yourself that you have that power means that we remove this victim mindset. We don't believe that we are a victim to circumstances. We feel empowered. We feel like we can steer the direction of our lives. We feel important. We feel significant. You know, I know it's like the same word, but it just changes the way we view ourselves as well. It's, you know, bringing that sense of power, that sense of self back to us, which actually changes our energy, which changes our alignment. So just the way you phrase your question can actually change the way you feel about yourself. Tip number 4, focus on the present moment. Now, first of all, there is no point focusing on the past, because you cannot do anything to change the past. You can definitely ask questions about the past, making sure you're focused on the present. So maybe ask, you know, how does the situation which happened previously with so-and-so, you know, help me move forwards? What is my lesson from that situation? What have I learned? How can I ensure that that doesn't happen again? Those are really good questions and a useful way to reflect on the past without getting stuck there, because you're bringing that lesson into the present moment and using it to change, you know, your future, to change your perspective. You're using it as a tool for growth. Now, when we focus on the future is always changing. I obviously believe that we can see things that happen in the future. I know that I'm clairvoyant. I see things all the time, which does happen. But that doesn't mean it's healthy to always be living in the future, because then we are forgetting to live in the now. We're not happy because we're too focused on what is coming, but we're not appreciating what is already here. Also, the future is always changing based off our current decisions. So like I said earlier, a choice you make now will change the course of your future. So when you ask, what is coming in my relationship with my boyfriend, you might be shown based off the current energy, something happening. So say you're in a really good place, and based off that current energy, yes, you're going to get engaged, you're going to get married, you're going to have kids. But at any moment, something could change which would shift that trajectory. So the way I see it is, it's like if you're building something. If you are like 1 degree out for an angle, then over time that becomes like a bigger and bigger gap, if you understand what I'm saying. So it's like there's 2 different paths here, and at this point in time you're at the same spot, you have the same starting point, but then you choose something slightly different which feels so tiny, like it wouldn't make a big difference, but over time you see that the way that angle is moving, things are parting, and there's like a big difference in that situation in maybe 6 months time or 10 years time. I know this because when I've had tarot readings before, I've always loved tarot. I've always been super spiritual. So the first time I got a tarot reading, I think I was like 13 years old. And at the time, I was in a relationship, and it was a really happy relationship. We were kids. It was fun. It was light, like it's meant to be at that age. And the tarot reader said, oh, this is really good. This is going to last. And it did. We stayed together for 10 years. It was great. But it doesn't mean that it's going to last forever. Based off that current energy, that was what that reader saw. But, I made the decision to choose something different. We both did. We both made the decision. We're still good friends. But what I'm trying to say is that, our choices impacted that. So the future is always changing. And that's why, like I said in the previous tip, we focus on ourselves, because we do have that power to change our situation. And by focusing on the present, you are focusing on what you can do, what makes a difference. If you're always focusing on what's coming, I can guarantee that it's going to change. And not only will the future change, it will change more because you're in that place of fear. When we are asking about the future, what we're really doing is saying, I don't trust. When we want to know what is coming our way, we're saying, I don't trust the universe. I don't trust myself to make good decisions. I want to see what is coming before I make a decision. And that is a place of fear and ego. When you focus on the present, you're asking empowering questions. You're asking questions which help you make the decisions which create a better future for yourself. Okay, and finally, guys, tip number 5. This is how to clarify. Now, first of all, what I'm going to say is ask your question. So think of a question you want to ask and pull one card, just one card, and look at it, see what you get from it, see what you get from this card. And then if you want to gain more information, you can ask follow-up questions, again, pulling one card at a time. Too often, what people do is they see really cool and exciting spreads on Pinterest, on the internet, or on Instagram. And what they do is they think, I want to do that spread. And they overwhelm themselves by pulling so many cards that you struggle to connect the dots between each card. You're giving yourself this huge jigsaw puzzle to try and work out, which is so complicated. I've been reading tarot for a long time, and sometimes even when I try and do, in-depth tarot spreads, I end up feeling overwhelmed at what I've got in front of me. And I find myself, maybe moving away from the root of the actual question. So instead, I would always say, ask one insightful question, pull a card, reflect on it, see what you get from it. If you want to understand more about the situation, then pull a clarifying card and see what you get from that. And that is the way that I would work with multiple cards, by asking those clarifying questions, for asking for more detail. So for example, say that you say, how can I improve my love life? And you get, I don't know, the Hermit. And the Hermit is often a time of like withdrawal, of going within, of focusing on ourselves and our soul's development. So you pull that and you might think a little bit triggered, thinking, oh, that means I've got to be on my own. Well, I want to improve my love life. I want to attract a partner. So this Hermit card, you know, is telling me that yes, right now that is what I need to do, but maybe I want a bit more information. Maybe I want to know exactly what should I be focusing on in terms of my reflection. You know, what is it that I should be reflecting on? Because a hermit is telling us to reflect. So you pull another card and maybe you get the Nine of Cups. Okay, well, what I'm getting now is I'm not going to be alone forever. I'm being shown that I need to reflect right now to improve my love life. When I asked what I need to reflect on, I got the Nine of Cups. I need to reflect on what is happiness, on what will make me happy, what will fulfill me. I need to reflect on why I am unhappy being single, on why I feel like I need a partner. So then you can understand straight away and really simply, really quickly, you know, what it is that you should focus on to start to change your situation. Straight away you have an answer, so straight away you can get to work, and then you can change your situation really quickly, guys. So those are my 5 tips on how to ask questions for tarot. I'm now going to, you know, give some examples. So we're going to use some decks, and what we're going to do is we're going to look at badly phrased questions and well phrased questions, and just to show you how much more information you can get. Okay, so I'm going to use a Modern Witch tarot for now. I might change it in a second. So for example, say you're asking, will my ex contact me? First of all, what you're doing is you're making so many mistakes with this question. The first mistake is, will my ex contact me? It's a closed question. The second one is it's not focused on yourself. The third one is not focused on the present moment. The fourth one is you're focused on something you don't have control over. So, you know, there's 4 quite big parts to that question, which is actually quite disempowering, and I feel like would probably leave you disappointed. Even if you get yes, will my ex contact me? Yes, you don't get any time frame. You don't know, you know, what that communication will be. You don't know what you need to do to maybe improve the communication with your ex. So you can see how actually asking that question doesn't give you enough information. So I'm going to do it anyway. Will my ex contact me? I'm going to show you what we would get. So will my ex contact me? We have the moon straight away. So the moon, you know, often represents our fear. So the moon, I would say, you know, straight away, will they contact me? That's a hard question to answer, and I'm reading for myself here. So the moon, I could be like, well, no, because this person is scared. But the moon could also be romance, you know, so it could be, yeah, they do have romantic feelings for me. The moon can also be illusions. So I could think, I'm stuck in my head about this. No, they're not going to contact me. It's an illusion. It's a fantasy. So as you can see straight away, I'm now panicking. because I'm now like, well, I don't have an answer. Are they going to contact me? I actually don't know. Whereas if I put that back in the deck and I ask a question like, how can I improve communication with my ex? Let's see what card we get. How can I improve communication with my ex? I got the Ace of Pentacles. So straight away I'm thinking, well, Pentacles is 3D. It's material world. It's asking me, how can I improve communication with my ex? I can focus on what is tangible. I can start to focus on what is grounded in my present life. Shift my focus away from worrying about, you know, my ex completely, and start to just focus on growing, you know, on planting the seeds of what I want to manifest. Now, with this Ace of Pentacles, you know, how can I improve communication with my ex? I can focus on my career. I can focus on, like I said, those seeds that I want to plant and manifest. And then, you know, let's see what else. You know, how can I improve communication with my ex? The Ace of Pentacles, I would even say, you know, maybe wait for a tangible offer. Wait to see it in the 3D. Aces are about new beginnings. Pentacles is 3D world. So maybe this is literally saying, in order for me to improve communication with my ex, perhaps there is nothing I can do. Perhaps the only thing I can do is focus on myself and planting the seeds that I want to manifest, and, you know, waiting for this to come about in the 3D if it's meant to happen. You know, perhaps they will, perhaps they won't, but it's all energy right now. Aces is always like potential energy. So straight away, tarot is telling me, you know, how can I improve it? Well, right now the energy needs to change. Right now there's just this energy which needs to be shifted into something physical. It needs to be shifted into like gaining momentum. And then if you wanted to pull a clarifying card, so let's see, what would I clarify that with? How can I improve communication with my ex? Ace of Pentacles, focus on something 3D. Okay, what is it that I should be focusing on? Because, you know, I would interpret this personally for me as, you know, focus on something else. Focus on something which is tangible in your life now. So, you know, what is it that I should focus on instead? What can I focus on instead? Oh, I've got another one in a second. What can I focus on instead? The High Priestess. I can focus on trusting my intuition. I can focus on my spiritual development. I can focus on remembering my personal power as the High Priestess. I can focus on manifestations for sure, because the High Priestess is like so aligned. I can focus on balancing my fears, you know, with the High Priestess to me is always like balancing the dark and light. So I can focus on finding my balance again and finding my power. And like I said, trusting my intuition. Another one, good one to ask is, why do I want to hear from my ex? Because that's a question which I feel many of us should ask if we're in that situation. So why is it I am, you know, interested in communication from my ex? Because perhaps we don't know. So why am I interested in communication from my ex? 9 of Wands, because I was wounded. This 9 of Wands is saying you're holding on to something. You're holding on so tightly. You've been hurt. You've been through a battle here. Things happen so quickly. Maybe there was a really sudden ending, and perhaps that's still hurting. You know, you're still holding on to some kind of wound here. The 9 of Wands to me is also saying, I don't want to give up. You know, maybe I'm holding on too tightly to this. Maybe there's something here which I haven't let go of, and that is why I'm still feeling like I want to have that communication. So you can understand straight away how asking those really powerful and important questions, you know, helps us have a completely different answer. So for example, the 9 of Wands here, straight away, why do I even want that communication from my ex? Because I'm wounded, you know. So then I would ask, well, you know, how can I change this? How can I let go of this desire to have communication with my ex? How can I let go of this desire? 6 of Wands, focus on the future, moving forwards. The 6 of Wands is asking us to move forwards, to focus on success and victory. So straight away, Spirit is saying, in order to, you know, get over that attachment to having communication with an ex here, start to move forward towards, you know, what is going to be successful, towards what is going to make you feel empowered, towards peaceful situations, towards happiness. 6s to me in tarot, it's all about movement and journeys. So you're being guided to focus on not being stuck and starting to move forwards. So hopefully you guys can see that how I've turned a question which, you know, broke 4 of my golden rules, and I've changed it into some really empowering questions which have given me so much insight. And now I actually have things to work on. I've got power. I've got things that I can change. I've focused on myself. You know, I'm not even bothered about my ex anymore, because I now know what I need to work on and what I need to do. Now, I only use that example because it's one which I get asked all the time. So as a reader, I think that's an important one for us to challenge a little bit. You know, I see, and I've done it personally, you know, where we're offering a service, so we kind of want to answer the questions that our clients have, but it's also our responsibility to help them choose empowering questions. Because if we get someone asking us, am I going to hear from my ex? Am I going to get back with this person? And it's the same question over and over. We're not helping that client to move forward. We're not helping them realize their power. And as a reader, you know, I don't want to be that kind of reader. I want to be the reader where I help you guys move forward in your lives. I help you become more empowered. You know, that's why I set up Sacred Space. Sacred Space was all about empowering people, giving you the tools to heal, to evolve, to develop. So this is a video that I really wanted to record. You know, another one, another question is, another badly worded question, which I'm just going to cover quickly, is asking things about health. You know, am I pregnant? Am I going to die? Trust me, that is one that I've had. Am I healthy? Am I going to be okay? Questions like that. First of all, anything medical, you seek out a medical professional's opinion before you turn to tarot. You know, there's absolutely no situation which I can think of where tarot is the place to go for medical insight. let me know in the comments if you can think of one, but I honestly can't. You know, am I pregnant? Take a pregnancy test. Am I unwell? Go to the doctor. You know, it's important that we definitely challenge those questions. Okay, guys, I don't want to make this a long video, so I'm going to leave that there. I hope that it's given you some information on, you know, how to phrase good questions for tarot, which don't leave you feeling frustrated and disappointed. Sometimes, like I said, we ask a question which breaks some of those 5 golden rules and we get a disappointing answer. If you ask, you know, how does my ex feel about me? You're taking the power away from yourself. You might get an answer which is unpleasant to hear, and all you're left doing is feeling disappointed. Whereas if you can focus on questions which give you that power, which help you see things from your perspective, which focus on the present moment, then, you know, you're going to start to change your situation. You're going to be getting readings which are empowering. You're going to be knowing, you know, what direction to move in. And you're just going to feel so different. You're going to be, you know, gaining insight. You're going to have the truth illuminated. You're going to be able to grow and evolve. Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed that reading, and I'm going to continue to record beginner tarot tutorials like this, you know, to help you guys. So you can either pick up your own deck and you can start to read your own cards for yourself from, you know, without ego. And you see that, I know I keep saying I'm going and I keep saying stuff, but my last point is you can see how phrasing questions well means that actually our ego doesn't really influence the reading, because we're doing things from a place of reflection. And when we allow ourselves to read tarot in order to reflect, our ego can chime in every now and then. It can look at that 9 of Wands and interpret it however we want, because what we're doing is we're exploring the answer together, which means our ego gets given a seat at the table. You know, we become more balanced because we're embracing our fear. We are doing this through a process of reflection, which is crucial to, you know, finding our balance. It's crucial to move forward. You know, balance is not about ignoring the ego. It's about embracing the ego and balancing it out with our knowing, our intuition, our higher self. So ask powerful tarot questions and it will honestly change everything for you. Okay, guys, I actually am going to go now. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like it, comment, hit subscribe, and please share it as well. You know, share it on your social media, on your platform, so that we can get this message spread, because it really is time to start challenging the way that, you know, questions are asked. Okay, I will see you guys soon for another tarot tutorial.